So in today's lesson, we're going to talk about something that I think is particularly fun, and that is card revelations. Now, when it comes to card revelations, imagine if you control a card to the bottom or the top of the deck, and you know a bunch of revelations, you pretty much have different tricks you could bust out depending on the context of the environment. So today I thought I'd show you guys 7 different revelations you guys could use with a deck of cards that are not hard to do and allow you to come up with your own ways to present tricks. If you want, you could put this in a cohesive routine or just use them as one-off effects. But ultimately, what these are just little revelations you could use to spice up your tricks. So this first one is fairly easy. You have a card picked. In this case, it's going to be the 8 of clubs. This card is lost somewhere in the middle of the deck. So of course, your job now is to find it. Of course, I'm going to talk about presentational tips afterwards. But for now, the deck is thoroughly mixed. And of course, at any point in time, you could show the deck to be completely clean. And you could cut one card in the middle, outjogged. And of course, it's a spectator's card, the 8 of clubs. So the way this works is a slip cut, a very popular move in Magic. You're just using your thumb to outjog the card. We've talked about it a little bit. But in terms of this particular method, we're going to have the card controlled to the top of the deck via whatever way you want. The last episode, we saw different ways on getting jogs and getting breaks in effective and advanced ways. So you control that card to the top in whatever way you want. And now you're going to show the deck to be clean and not to have any sort of breaks. You're going to lift up approximately half the cards. You're going to use your left thumb to drag that top card onto this lower half and drop this upper half on that card. And now you have the revelation. So all you have there is a slip cut with the card in the middle of the deck, and you have a very simple yet startling revelation for the spectators. Now, of course, presentation is everything. So how do you present a trick like this? Well, you could talk about gamblers. You could talk about dead cuts, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a little bit. But this is just a flourishy way that you could reveal a card when having some sort of gambling demonstration. I would use this necessarily for multiple cards. So maybe I have 3 cards picked and I control them to the top. This could be possibly one of the ways that I control the cards, and then it increases in supposed difficulty as we progress through the routine. But this is just a cool, quick way of revealing one card supposedly from the middle of the deck in an efficient way. The next one is the fan revelation. The way this looks is we have a card picked. In this case, the 8 of diamonds. This card, of course, subsequently lost in the middle of the deck, never to be seen forevermore, cards falling everywhere. But ultimately, we're able to cut the deck, make a fan, and reveal the card popping out of the deck. This is a wonderful production by Rodney Reyes called My Biggest Fan from School of Hard Knocks, a DVD that came out in 2002. It's one of my first DVDs in Magic, and this was one of the revelations there. And I do see magicians use this sort of revelation a lot, but I do like the way it looks with a fan. So for this, you're going to need to do a one-handed fan. And if you don't, you're more than welcome to do this just holding the cards like this. However, it does look good with a fan. So let's talk a little bit about the fan itself. Now the fan, you're going to start with the deck in straddle grip. Straddle grip is the forefinger up here, the pinky down here, and these 2 fingers bracing the deck in this position. You've seen this position for this long distance spinner, if you're familiar with this move, but this is also the way that I like getting into a fan. Now what's going to happen is that you're going to put your thumb right here in the left edge of the cards in your hand. And you're going to do an action where your thumb is going to move clockwise while simultaneously holding the card. So if you put pressure with the fingers and your thumb just does a clockwise action and a clockwise rotation, you're going to see that the cards are going to begin to fan. Now, in the beginning, you're not going to get this move 100%. You're not going to be able to get a fan this wide. You're going to start with a fan that's maybe this wide, but the point is to try to spread the cards and practice to the point where eventually you're able to put your thumb and spread it so that the fan is as wide as possible. And that's when it looks the best. So those are just some tips on the one-handed fan. I'm going to have a complete lesson just for flourishes where we cover basic flourishes like this, like two-handed fans and things like that. But just for now, the deck is held in straddle grip. Your thumb is in the lower left edge. It's going to do a clockwise action. And that should put the cards in a fan. So this is the first step. Now, of course, their card is going to be on top of the deck. So we're going to need to swing cut the deck to the other hand. Then now is when we accomplish the fan with the right hand. Now the fan is going to provide the cover you need for this action. Your thumb of the left hand is going to push off this card and it's going to get clipped between the pinky and the ring finger of the right hand, just like this. Of course, this is covered by the fan. So now, once you rotate your hand, you're going to see that this card is going to pop out because it's clipped between the pinky and the ring finger. But it is a startling revelation. So when you combine that with closing the fan and scoring the fan up on top of the left-handed cards, you have a very nice revelation of this card seemingly just popping out of the deck and being caught at your fingers. So all in all, it looks like this. Just like that. So you're squaring up the fan in the hand at the same time that you accomplish the move. So here, we're clipping it. That card gets popped out as the deck gets squared. And you have a revelation where the card apparently shoots out of the deck. This next one is very similar to the first one that I showed you guys in a slip cut. However, it is a dead cut. So you talk about dead cuts and how gamblers are able to dead cut the certain cards whenever they want to. So in this case, you have a card picked and your goal is to try to dead cut right to that card. Now, it's a little bit difficult because, you know, the deck obviously is mixed and they could have picked any card they wanted. But your job is to try to dead cut to the card that they picked. So here we go. Cut the cards right there. Of course, you're asking for whatever card they named. They could have picked any card they wanted. And of course, that's the card that you happen to cut directly to. This trick is simplicity in itself. All you're doing is maintaining a break over the card, making sure there's no sort of visible edge in the front. You could do this bend subtlety where you're putting pressure with the forefinger and you're bending the cards using the thumb and the middle finger. You're just bending it, putting the forefinger in the back so that the break is covered from pretty much most angles. And at any point in time, you could come in, cut to your break, and you've dead cut apparently to the card. So all in all, you have a card picked. This card gets control to the top of the deck in whatever way you want. You could even do one of these shuffles. You're talking about gamblers and you're talking about dead cutting and you're talking about how certain gamblers have developed a touch with their fingertips where they're able to cut to the cards that they want. And in this case, of course, there's only one card that we want. And in that action, I've cut their card to the middle of the deck and maintained a break. So now, all I gotta do is lift up at those cards and show that I've dead cut right to the card that they picked. So this next one's a fairly interesting one because there are two different ways to present it. So here, the card's picked, of course, lost in the middle of the deck, as you've seen so many times here. But we offer to find a spectator's card actually well in advance before they even picked it. Because believe it or not, before we started, there was actually one card inside of my back pocket. And it happens to be the 7 of clubs, the card the spectator picked. So there are two ways to present this trick. One way is from the back pocket. The other way is if you have a jacket, it's very easy to do the method. To supposedly pull that card from your jacket and show that there's one card that's arrived in your pocket without palming, which is my favorite thing. So obviously you saw the method there. What's going to happen is that you're going to control the card to the top in whatever way you want. Now when you reach to your back pocket, all you're going to do is push this card up, just like this. You're going to put pressure with your forefinger behind the card and you're going to clip it with your middle finger so that when you extend your forefinger and your middle finger, you're going to notice that it's going to get clipped between the fingertips. The reason for this is because you want this card to be as far separated from the deck as possible so the spectators don't think that the card just came from the deck and is just being pulled out of your pocket in this flourishy way. So again, you're pushing up, you're clipping the card, and you're pushing it like that so that this card comes out in this position. Now, of course, it's coming from the pocket. You're looking from your pockets. You do this move and you show there's one card in your pocket and it happens to be the 7 of clubs. Now, if you're wearing a jacket, this works great because you could open the jacket. You come in with the cards in your hand. You do the move. You pull out one card supposedly at your fingertips, which makes all the sense in the world because you're reaching in with those two fingertips supposedly. You're holding your jacket open. You pull that card and you show the card to have jumped to your pocket in the breast area. So this is a move that could be adapted to the back pocket or to the breast area pocket if you're wearing a jacket. So it's a very adaptable move. I like it because there's no sort of palming, and it still looks very fair when you come out and you pull this card and show the spectator to be your card. Even if you do it with the back pocket, it looks really good because the card supposedly just came from your pocket, even though obviously the spectator just saw it in the deck moments before. So it's a great thing to do. And again, no palming. So very easy for anyone to get. So for this next one, it's actually one of my favorites because it's very easy to do, but it looks fairly impressive. So one more time, we have the card mixed in the deck, just like this. That card is lost somewhere in the middle of the deck. And we claim to the spectator that we're going to be able to run through the cards and we're going to find their card in the deck the moment they name it. So let's say whatever card they name, they're going to name the 5 of clubs. As they say 5 of clubs, one card shoots out of the deck and lands in your right hand, and it happens to be the card they picked. So this move is very simple apart from catching the card in your right hand. That's going to be the part that takes the most practice. However, the action itself is not difficult at all. You're going to hold the cards in your left hand. You're going to pull down with your thumb. So the card is going to get about ½ inch in jogged from the top. This is, of course, done with the cards held like this. Now your pinky is going to do the action here. So your pinky is going to snap from this position to your palm. That's going to be your action as you let go of the thumb. What that's going to accomplish is that this card is going to spin out and rotate, allowing you to catch it in the right hand. Now, the best advice that I could give you on this particular move, as I've discussed previously on the channel, is you don't want to press with your pinky too much because you're just going to end up bending the card. What you want to do is just snap your pinky to your palm as fast as possible. That's going to shoot the card out and allow it to rotate just like this. Now, of course, the difficulty is going to be to arch the card in a way that you could catch it in the right hand. But that's something that's just going to come with practice. The move itself is not really hard to do. Again, you're pushing down on the card that's happening in this position, and you are pulling with your pinky, allowing that card to rotate so you could catch it in the other hand. Now, the good thing is that you could do this as the spectator names your cards. So, for example, you get the Queen of Hearts, and you claim that you're going to be able to find a card because maybe you've memorized the deck, or maybe you have some sort of affinity with the cards. But they name the card, and as they name it, you do the pop-up move, you catch the card, and it becomes an impressive revelation. Now, this next revelation is something that is very similar to an idea by Nate Leipzig, who had a trick called slap aces, where he's able to slap the aces or selected cards into appearance with the cards. Now, this one doesn't require palming. The original required a lot of palming. This one, thankfully, doesn't require palming. But you tell the spectator you have the ability to manifest cards with your hand by slapping. So if you slap them, you're going to be able to find a card. And, of course, you play up the domestic violence jokes here. Watch your crowd. But ultimately, you're able to slap the deck and reveal the spectator's card just like that. So for this, it's going to be a very challenging move. But once you get it down, it is going to be very rewarding. So we're going to get a pinky break below the top card of the deck, which is the spectator's card. Now, you're going to play around with this idea of dropping the cards in a rapid fashion. You're going to drop the cards and bring it up to the exact same position that the cards were originally. What that's going to accomplish is that this top card is going to get air between the break and is going to cause it to flip over and land back on top of the deck. Now, of course, it's going to be a very knacky move to do. And when you are first practicing the move, the card is going to go everywhere. And that's going to be something that you want to accomplish. So when you're first practicing this move, it doesn't matter where the card goes as long as the card flips over. That's going to be the important part. Then once you get a little bit more advanced in the move, you could start practicing with optimizing the actual move and trying to get it to land flush on top of the deck itself. So that's going to be the thing that you're going to need to do to get this move. Now, luckily, you are going to cover the action with a slap. So that is going to cover any sort of imperfections that happen with the actual move itself. So you're going to do the move as your right hand comes over and slaps the cards. Now, one thing that's going to happen to you initially when doing this sort of revelation or when practicing this revelation is that you are going to bend the absolute crap out of your cards. You're going to time it incorrectly. So the card's going to be like this in midair, and you're going to slap it and you're going to bend the card. So make sure to do this with a deck of cards that's not super expensive, because I can't tell you how many times I've done the actual revelation itself, and for some reason the card is like this in midair, and that's when I decide to slap it. So that's happened a lot. But ultimately, you're combining the Louis Simonov flipping move with just slapping the deck with your right hand, and that creates the illusion that you revealed that card with just a slap and an empty palm, which is a very, very startling revelation and very visual. So the best advice that I could give you one more time is to have your hand on top of the deck. This is a similar tip by Greg Wilson. So you're going to drop your hand, the card's going to turn over, and it's very important that at this point is when you slap the cards. So one more time, you're doing a flip and move at the same time that you're slapping the deck with your right hand. And when you combine those two actions, it looks like you slap that card into existence. So those are 7 different revelations that you guys could use in the context of tricks. Again, they're fairly easy to do. All you have to do is control a card to the top of the deck. You could do any one of these situational revelations depending on the actual context of the environment that you're performing in. You're more than welcome to combine these and make it into multiple revelations as opposed to just doing it one-off. So you could control multiple cards to the top of the deck, have multiple cards picked. Of course, if you have multiple cards picked, you're going to need to control all of them to the top of the deck. So the way we could do that is you have cards returned to the deck one at a time. So in this case, this might be the first spectator's card. We do the Mahatma control that we discussed in a previous lesson. Now at this point, you could swing cut the cards again. The spectator puts the card back on top of the original card, and we just execute the same control. And now both of those cards are on top of the deck, ready to be revealed in whatever way you want. So ultimately, you could have one card slip cut. You could reveal that one. You could talk about dead cutting and how dead cutting is a little bit more difficult than doing that you just did. You dead cut to the next card, and you have multiple revelations that you could do. But ultimately, with having one way of controlling the cards and 7 different ways to reveal the cards, you have 7 different tricks that you could have and show at any point in time, which is kind of an interesting thing. So practice the revelations and think of different ways that you could use them in context of other tricks. Think of different ways that you could present them. Don't just do them as willy-nilly. Don't just do a revelation just like that without any sort of reason. You want to have different motivations as to why you do the individual moves that you do. So make sure that you give them context. Make sure that you give it some sort of encompassing reason for you revealing the card in the way that you did. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. There you have 7 different revelations, and thank you guys again for supporting me. Thank you guys for being a part of the Pick K Card Academy, and I'll see you guys on the next one.